What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive right into our first news. Garry has finally explained what really happened during his unexpected altercation with Khamzat at UFC Qatar. What started as a simple, respectful interaction suddenly escalated into a heated moment that required security to step in. In his interview with Ariel Helwani, Garry broke down everything from his perspective and said he believes a basic language barrier may have triggered the entire misunderstanding. Garry said he had been congratulating members of Arman's team after the event, greeting everyone respectfully and keeping the energy positive. He then stepped back, saw Khamzat, and greeted him in the same friendly way. He said something along the lines of, "Oh hey, didn't see you there. Congratulations. Good work tonight." Garry asked Khamzat when fans might expect to see him return, and Khamzat gave the classic response, "I don't know, brother. Anyone smash everybody." Garry laughed, calling it a typical Khamzat moment. As Garry was about to leave, he briefly placed his hand on Khamzat's shoulder and told him, "See you later. Bye." He described it as a simple gesture of goodwill and respect. He then stepped back, turned around, took a sip of his water, and began preparing to walk away. Out of nowhere, he noticed a security guard standing directly in front of him. Garry was confused, thinking there was no tension at all, nothing remotely close to a fight. Garry said he believes that in that brief moment, due to a possible language barrier, Khamzat misinterpreted his comment or gesture. Garry thought Khamzat may have taken it as some kind of disrespect or challenge, because suddenly everything shifted. According to Garry, Khamzat started cursing, yelling aggressively, and acting like something had changed in an instant. Garry turned around, confused, asking what was going on. But before he could process anything, Khamzat shoved him. Garry said he was stunned by how childish the reaction felt. He reminded people that he had just celebrated Arman and his team, including Khamzat, congratulating them on their victory. In his eyes, Khamzat went from cordial to explosive without any real reason. Garry added that he shouldn't expect someone like Khamzat to show self-control in those moments, as Khamzat always seems ready for a fight. Garry called the whole thing a massive misunderstanding and said Khamzat ended up looking like a child, not a champion. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to support the channel. Moving on to another news, Arman finally responded to Ilia's recent video where Ilia claimed he had slapped him. Arman laughed off the entire thing, explaining that the clip Ilia posted wasn't new at all. It was actually recorded back in June when Arman was in Baku. He said that's why people noticed he looked younger in the video, with different hair and a different beard. Arman clarified that the interaction in that video was nothing like what Ilia is trying to make it seem now. According to Arman, Ilia approached him in a completely friendly way during that meeting. Ilia came over, said, "Hi bro, how are you?" and told him everything happening online was just for the media. Arman said Ilia even hugged him and acted like they were cool with each other. But after that moment, Ilia went online and started talking trash as if they had some heated confrontation. Arman said that's when he realized how fake Ilia was being. One moment in person, Ilia was behaving like a good guy, calm and friendly. Then on social media, he switched up and started attacking him. Arman said he couldn't stand that kind of two-faced behavior. He told Ilia straight up, "Bro, you're such a fake guy. In person you act friendly, but on Twitter you're a different person." Arman added that he refuses to be like that. He doesn't want to create two versions of himself, one for real life and one for social media. He said he's real, he's consistent, and he won't pretend to be someone he's not, just to hype up drama online. Moving on to another news, Garry has now responded to Khamzat's deleted tweet, which briefly made the rounds online before being taken down. When Ariel Helwani asked him whether he had seen it, Garry said he hadn't. Ariel then read the tweet out loud. "White boy, you will not survive 1 minute in my world." Garry laughed and said he definitely would survive a minute, adding that both he and Khamzat are white, so the comment didn't even make sense to him. He brushed it off casually, saying he wasn't bothered by the threat at all. Garry explained that he has no intention of moving up to middleweight anytime soon, but if Khamzat wants to come down or meet him somewhere, he's more than ready. He said he doesn't feel the need to prove anything to anyone at this point. His message was simple and direct. Anyone, anywhere, anytime. Garry made it clear that he's not intimidated by tweets, deleted or not, and that he's willing to step in with whoever wants the smoke, whenever the opportunity comes. Moving on to another news, Frankie Edgar opened up about a moment that pushed him over the edge, revealing he wants to track down a guy who left negative comments on his son's Instagram. Frankie said his kid had just posted his first media day photos for wrestling. He was proud, wrote "Future Legend," and saw plenty of support from friends and family. Everyone was showing love, dropping positive messages, cheering the kid on. But then, out of nowhere, one random guy decided to be a hater. Frankie said the guy commented something like, "Let's see if he can make the lineup and stick around," talking about a 15-year-old kid who wasn't bragging, wasn't showing off, just posting a picture from his first year. Frankie said that instantly set him off. He replied directly saying, "You, Robert? Guess what, Robert? I took a screenshot of your face. If I see you in town or around the state, I might smack you. I might smack you for talking to my kid like that. I don't give a... How about that?" The host pointed out that Frankie usually stays calm and doesn't react like that online. But Frankie explained it clearly. If someone talks about him, he doesn't care. Say whatever you want. But going after a kid, especially a kid who's just starting something and sharing a proud moment, crosses a line. Frankie said strangers shouldn't feel bold enough to jump on a child's page and try to tear them down. He repeated that it wasn't about ego, and it wasn't about protecting his own image. It was about a grown adult trying to belittle a teenager. Frankie said he's fully prepared to stand up for his son, and he won't apologize for defending him. The host agreed completely, saying he was with Frankie 100% on this one. Moving on to another news, Robert Whittaker had nothing but high praise for Arman after watching his performance against Dan Hooker. Whittaker said he was especially blown away by the way Arman escaped Hooker's guillotine. He pointed out that Dan has a legitimately dangerous guillotine, and when he locked it up in the second round, you could clearly see him cinching it tight. But Arman read the position instantly, spun out, and combined athleticism, instinct, and technique so smoothly that he never looked like he was in any real trouble. Whittaker also talked about the first round, saying Arman didn't do a ton of visible damage against the fence, but he was clearly investing in long-term control. He believed Arman drained a lot of energy from Dan's arms and body during those wrestling exchanges. That grind in round 1 set the tone for what came next. When round 2 hit, Whittaker said Arman's guard work was some of the best he has seen in a long time. He even wondered if something was off with Dan, whether he had injured something or exhausted himself more than expected, because Dan usually has a far better guard than what was shown. But at the same time, he acknowledged that Arman might have just been that sharp, blasting through positions with ease. Whittaker highlighted the tight elbows Arman landed from inside the guard, saying the speed, precision, and mechanics were wild to watch. He even commented on Arman's shoulder flexibility and how his shorter arms seemed to work in his favor, especially when compared to Dan, who looked massive next to him. Despite the size difference, Arman controlled every exchange with confidence. The ground and pound from inside the guard impressed Whittaker the most. It's something you don't see often at that level, and Dan had no answer for it. At one point, Dan even opened his guard and just shelled up, unable to create space or threaten a sweep. Whittaker said the entire sequence showed how well-rounded and disciplined Arman has become, and it cemented why so many believe he's ready for a title shot. Moving on to another news, Raja Jackson has finally broken his silence following the assault incident involving the wrestler Psycho Stu. This marks his first public message since everything unfolded. For those unaware, Raja's mother was murdered when he was younger, and while the full details of that tragedy remain unclear, it has always been a deeply personal part of his life. Earlier today, Raja posted a message to his Instagram story, writing, "Happy birthday, Mom. God bless everyone that's been keeping me and my whole situation in their prayers. I cannot explain or talk about it at this time, but thank you to all the support and positive energy." The tone of the message was emotional, showing both gratitude and the weight he's carrying during this ongoing legal battle. Raja has pled not guilty to the battery charges connected to the Psycho Stu incident. Despite that plea, he is facing serious consequences, including the possibility of up to 7 years in prison if convicted. His supporters continue to rally around him as the investigation moves forward, but for now, Raja says he cannot comment further. Moving on to another news, a frustrated Arman went off on Ilia and the stalled lightweight title picture. After his dominant win over Dan Hooker this past weekend, Arman is widely seen as the clear #1 contender and the most deserving challenger for Ilia's belt. But instead of moving toward that matchup, things have only become more confusing. During his appearance on the Ariel Helwani show on Monday, Arman openly accused Ilia of avoiding him and delaying the division, Arman said Ilia is trying to find an easier first title defense rather than facing the toughest threat in the division. He believes Ilia wants a safer fight at lightweight before jumping straight to welterweight for a potential super fight with Islam Makhachev. Arman pointed out that Ilia hasn't fought since June, while other contenders like Charles stayed active. To him, the situation feels like Ilia is playing it safe and waiting for the perfect opportunity instead of proving himself against real competition. While talking to Ariel, Arman explained that he thinks the UFC is also trying to build Ilia into a superstar by giving him a more favorable matchup first. He said the promotion seems focused on helping Ilia defend the belt in a way that keeps his momentum intact, but that only delays the fight that truly matters. Arman emphasized that Ilia can't move up to 170 until he defends his lightweight belt. In his words, "Why you go to 170? You gotta prove that you're a real champion." Arman made it clear that he's ready, he's earned his shot, and he's not buying the excuses anymore. He believes the division is stuck because Ilia doesn't want to risk defending the belt against someone who can genuinely challenge him. Moving on to another news. A recent video that absolutely blew up online has the entire fight world buzzing. Jon Jones and Khamzat were caught playfully wrestling in the streets, but things escalated fast. Out of nowhere, Khamzat pulled Jones off balance and scored a clean takedown that looked both shocking and impressive. This wasn't just any casual moment. Jones is known for having an unreal takedown defense, having only conceded 2 takedowns in his entire UFC career across both light heavyweight and heavyweight divisions. The clip spread like wildfire across social media. Some fans brushed it off as friendly sparring, but Jon Jones himself jumped onto Twitter to make it clear that the takedown was absolutely real. He didn't hide behind excuses and instead praised Khamzat's skills, acknowledging the strength and timing behind the move. That admission from Jones added even more fuel to the debate, especially among fighters reacting to the clip. Meanwhile, Alex Pereira jumped on YouTube for an interview with Sports Illustrated's Greg Calley. As expected, he addressed the moment and didn't hesitate to call out Jon Jones. Pereira made a subtle but sharp reference to the takedown incident, almost hinting that the heavyweight champ might not be as untouchable as many believe. From there, he shifted into talking about the possibility of facing Khamzat in the future. He explained what it would actually take for the Chechen star to earn a legitimate shot at him, making it clear that he doesn't hand out opportunities without reason. Pereira spoke about his rising popularity, how his name is getting bigger, and how fans are showing increasing interest in a potential showdown with Jones. He said his interest comes from who Jones is and what he represents in the sport, acknowledging that Jones has done so much and remains a monumental figure. Pereira also made it clear that both men have shown interest in the fight, and he believes it would be massive for everyone involved. He even joked that maybe he could take Jones down too after seeing all the chaos the viral clip caused. When speaking about Khamzat, Pereira didn't shy away from giving his honest perspective. He said the fight with Khamzat is definitely on his watch list and even mentioned that he has already thrown out a small challenge toward him, but he clarified that it's not a lack of interest. Instead, he believes there are still many fights waiting for him in his own division. Pereira also mentioned the possibility of moving up to heavyweight at some point. But before Khamzat gets a real shot at him, he wants to see him defend his belt first. He noted that Khamzat would be his last option for now, but still an option nonetheless. Moving on to another news, Jon Jones is receiving major backlash after new footage surfaced online showing him meeting with President Kadyrov. The MMA community reacted almost instantly, and the response was overwhelmingly negative. Given the long and controversial history surrounding Kadyrov and Chechnya, many fans and analysts felt this move from Jones was completely unnecessary, especially considering he is someone with the freedom to choose where he goes and who he associates with. When Khamzat is seen with Kadyrov, people usually argue he doesn't have a choice because of where he was raised and the influence around him. But in this case, fans believed Jones stepped into that situation willingly, and that alone sparked a massive wave of criticism. Comments across social media ranged from disappointment to outright anger. One fan wrote that Jones was fully media posing with a renowned authoritarian and human rights violator, adding that Jones' supporters would now have to figure out how to justify this one. Another pointed out the difference between someone like Khamzat, who grew up under that system, and Jones, who could absolutely choose not to take part. Many called the move gross and questioned why the heavyweight champion would align himself with someone known globally for abuse and brutality. The backlash didn't stop there. People mocked the situation, joking that Jones must be broke if he was taking this kind of booking on Thanksgiving. Others said the White House would be lucky to allow him back into the United States after associating with someone like that. Another fan sarcastically called it 4D chess from Jones, suggesting he did all of this just to avoid facing Tom Aspinall again. Someone else called him a sellout, saying it was one thing to appear on Russian shows, but a whole different level when a fighter starts glorifying or cozying up to a figure accused of violence and oppression. One of the harshest comments claimed Jones was playing buddy with a blood-soaked tyrant who tortures his own people, calling it the embrace of a man who sold his soul for luxury. The criticism got so intense that Jones eventually responded to a fan who referred to Kadyrov as a warlord. Jones replied by saying, "I don't know anything. I don't see anything. All I know is the man's a great host." The moment only intensified the backlash, with many feeling the response came off as dismissive rather than thoughtful. That's it from MMA Pulse News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for your daily dose of MMA news.